Sixth, I have the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
That's exactly
So
who I said you should switch him with. I was like, wherever you have the Mavs up there,
yeah,
bring them down and
yep.
move the
So
Clippers.
so a lot of questions
Oh
about
yeah.
Dallas. Um, Primarily, how available is are Luca and Kyrie going to be? Luca has played 60 plus games every year. Kyrie was 60 plus last year. Offense should be amazing. Can the defense hold up? Lineups with Luca and Kyrie had a 121 offensive rating, would have been number one in the league. And they had a 117 defensive rating, which would have been in the 20s on defense, which I think you kind of could expect for this team. Really liked their summer. Really liked a lot of the stuff they did. I'm sure Lino can talk more about the guys they drafted, but I liked Prosper. I liked Lively. I like the Grant Williams pickup. I think he makes a lot of sense for what they want to do. The center spot, like we talked about earlier, still is definitely a question mark. But I'm really high on Luca, obviously. But like even in terms of like regular season dominance, I think if he can get out there 60 plus games, they're gonna mow through a lot of teams. And I said, you guys make great points, and I probably would bump them down to maybe 7. So, what are you guys' thoughts on Dallas?
You go first, Lee. You go first.
I just first want to shout out. I got Jaren. I'm just sorry for this. No, I just wanted to scare him a bit. I think it's fine to put I have these guys around like 7th. I was like, I don't think they're better than the top 5 or 6 teams in the Western Conference, especially from a health standpoint. But it is Luca, and I think he can be incredibly effective from like a 5 or 6 seed. Like they can make it deep into the playoffs if they get it all together from there. I just don't see them finishing in the regular season very well, just because I feel like there's always something going on with their team in the regular season, and organizationally they can be kind of a mess on when they're deciding what direction to go. I do like the talent from the younger guys. I know Omax Prosper didn't have the best preseason showing, but I think if he can get it together and show up, I think he can do really well. What was it? I was trying to look up something earlier. Oh yeah, I think he can just be such a great defensive connector for them. He's got a 7'1" wingspan.
Yep.
He's just a monster athlete, and so just having an effort guy out there that can play that role. Once he gets more comfortable and confident out there, I think him and Derek Lively are just going to be able to bolster that defense in a way that they might not have had from Dwight Powell and others. And so I'm excited for them. I always believe in Luca. He's just a strong guy, or just a strongly talented guy. But I just don't see them being better than the other teams. Like I just feel like they can't fall lower than 7th, but I don't really see how they can be better than the other 6 teams.
Okay. Here we go. I thought that if you just try and pick chalk for the most part, you're gonna miss. There's gonna be at least one team that's either much better or much worse. Okay. And I thought the two most likely options, there was a bunch of options I could have picked. I thought the two most likely options were either one, that the Thunder would be much better, which I couldn't quite get there. And I thought the second most likely thing was that the Mavs would be really bad. And I had the Mavs finishing 11th.
Whoa!
I think they're gonna miss the play-in again.
Wow!
Wow!
Here's why. So one, I guess they're gonna be playing these young guys a good amount of minutes. In this conference, I mean, it's not just super talented, but it's a lot of vets. Like it's a lot of veteran teams, and I think having those young guys, I think they're gonna be getting taken advantage of at some points. And I'm not saying that they're bad. Like I like those players as prospects, but I think it's gonna be a gauntlet for them this year. They acquired Grant, and just to be clear, I'm not saying the Mavs are a bad basketball team. The Mavs are a good team. They have good players, but I like 10 teams in the West more than I like the Mavericks. They acquired Grant Williams, which I like. Grant goes from being the 8th best player in Boston to the 3rd best player in Dallas in a tougher conference. I hate that. I really hate that. That's really bad. I just don't. We're gonna do the Luka Kyrie thing, which is, it's explosive offensively, but there's gonna be, to me, there's some diminishing returns in those players, because they kind of do very similar things, and I think defensively, it just takes away from how good you are offensively when you just can't guard anybody. And I don't think they're going to be able to guard anybody. I talked about in the preseason game who's going to guard scoring guards on this team, which every single night in the Western Conference it's going to be like a really good all-star level like scoring guard coming at you.
Yeah, like all the best guards are in the West.
Who's going to guard?
Like Dame. You're lucky Dame is gone, but
are they going
to
have Kyrie guard those guys? Are they going to have Josh Green guard those guys? I don't think they're going to start Omax. Omax would be like probably the best option, but he is a flawed player. Like I think they're going to struggle. Like I said, they have talent, but when you look at how the roster is constructed, I like the other 10 teams, how their roster is constructed better. And there are some teams that don't have as much high-end talent, but their teams just make more sense. And I think if you can't guard in this conference of the season, it's going to be rough for you. So I have the Mavs finishing 11.
Yeah, well said.
That's
fair. It's going to be interesting.
Scathing,
I'm not sure.
Fair.
Yeah. No, you make good points. Not sure how they're going to be able to guard. And maybe.
Here's one more hot take. Is Luka just too immature to win a title? At least right now. Seriously, like the players that win titles, like they're like not just an average mature. They're usually like super, like LeBron's a very basketball professional. Jokic, just get the job done, go home. Kawhi Leonard, like an android, like get the job done, go home, get repairs. Like
when was our last goofy champion?
Giannis.
Yeah, Giannis is pretty goofy. He doesn't, but I feel like he takes things more seriously on the court.
Right. He literally just came out and said, like, I'm sacrificing time for my family to win. And if you're not doing this, I'm out. Like he's all about it. Like when I watch Luka do all the pouting and all the crying and coming into the camp
he's
out
not
of
goofy.
shape. Yeah, it's not goofy. It's just immaturity.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, to me, like Luka's a killer. Like Luka, like those Clippers series, especially early in his career. Like, I mean, he takes that seriously. Like he's
that Sun series.
Yeah, I mean, he'll kill anybody out there. But I totally don't
as a basketball professional, as just a leader of other grown ass men. Excuse my language, but. You know what I'm saying? All the pouting and crying, like he just kind of lacks that maturity. I think it matters. Not 3%, but it matters. Maybe 1% it matters.
I think what he does maybe lack in this regard is that leadership aspect of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there's been some immature people to win, but they're very mature in the way they lead others.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that Luka really rallies his guys together. I do think he elevates people's games just for the space that he creates for them, and he does share the rock pretty well.
From a basketball perspective, 100%.
From on the floor. But like as far as really organizing the energy and like maintaining the flow of the game in a professional way, he does do a lot of the pouting that takes away. That can be really distracting for your teammates and even demoralizing at times.
Mm-hmm.
When you just seem so visible. And, LeBron used to be guilty of this in his own capacity. People have had to know, like, hey, like when you look upset, you really ruin the vibes for the rest of your teammates. And that's something that he had to learn. And I think Luka's capable of learning it.
For sure.
He's very young in that capacity. And you're right. I think that's something he's going to have to develop moving forward. But that leads me to my hot take, in that if they do finish 11 this year, he is going to leave. Maybe not this year, but as soon as he has a chance to get out of here, I think he might be gone.
Well, here's the one caveat that, excuse me, they don't finish 11th if they trade some of those young guys at the deadline. I think they like Lively a lot. So
he's
they probably,
for him, I think.
He will. They finally listen. I can't remember who said this, but it was out of all the centers they've tried, other than Powell, the numbers say Powell is the best. The numbers say the Mavs are the best when they have Powell on the court. So as much as Mavs fans hate Powell, somebody take his job. And I think Derek Lively's finally the guy who's going to take his job.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's funny, the Mavericks feel like they get stuck in this feedback loop of the year after they trade someone away, you're like, oh man, they would help this team. So it's like, oh, Porzingis would help this team. Oh, Brunson would help this team. Like looking at this roster, I mean, man, Reggie Bullock, Dorian Finney-Smith, those guys would really help this team. So that's got to be so frustrating as a Mavs fan.
You know that their assistant coach for player development, we can move on from this, is God Shamgod?
No.
That's cool.
Yeah, I got just their NBA page pulled up. I was trying to figure out who their starters were going to be because I just am very skeptical about what Jason Kidd can do with his roster. And I look at development coach, and it's God Shamgod.
Interim head coach if they're the 11th seed.
Yeah. like it.
I love it. This is the narrative. I see what the NBA is cooking up here. I like this.
Oh, yeah.